Welcome back everybody to episode 2 of my Create playthrough. So last episode we went ahead and got our kind of early game machine started, so we got our little basic starter factory here sorted out. We dug out this hole and basically we got geared up and ready to start doing some other bits and pieces. So today my plan is go ahead and do some more resource gathering, and I think one of the big things we're going to want to do is grab ourselves a beacon so that we can expand that hole there a little bit more and get our factory built. Also, as you may have known if you watched the last episode, some of my audio has been a bit odd, and that's continuing in this one, but that's alright. So we're going to have voiceover me for a little bit, and then at some point we're going to switch back to regular me. So yeah, the first thing I did here was go out and have a look around, but before I did that I went ahead and started designing some machines on a creative world. So this is the outline of what our factory is going to look like in terms of production. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, and we'll focus on just the first layer of it today. So we've got one line which is going to do iron production. So Create lets you make this out of a bunch of things. And in particular we can make it out of cobblestone. So we make just a regular old cobblestone generator, drill those apart with the mechanical drill block, and that will give us some cobblestones. That's very cool. We go ahead and we turn that into gravel, and to do that we use those crushing wheels that are above us there. So when you run cobblestone through, you produce gravel. When you wash the gravel with an encased fan and some water, you can produce iron nuggets and flint. So the iron nuggets are going to go ahead and get compacted into iron ingots with a compactor and a basin, and a flint output is going to go into andesite crafting, which is production line 2. So it's going to take some of our gravel, some of our andesite, and a little bit of lava, and we're going to go ahead and combine all of those together to make andesite. And that lava will also be fueling our boiler. Cool, so once we've got that sorted out, that is a lot of our kind of early game resource production sorted. My idea for this one was to make it a bit of like a component factory. So rather than building like full things, our first floor is going to be basic resources, and our second floor is going to be components for other factories to have dotted around the city or the world. So the big ones that we're building here, we're building electron tubes. So in order to do that, we take some of our gravel, we mince it up into sand, we add some bits and pieces together, and we go ahead and make an electron tube. We also go ahead and make some andesite alloy here from our andesite and our iron that we made earlier. And those are going to be used to build all our kind of base create parts, so andesite casing, shafts, cogwheels, potentially some gearboxes as well. And then we're also going to make some cardboard, because I'm envisaging having a bunch of chain conveyors all around the city carrying packages, and so obviously we need a cardboard fabricator for that, and I figured the factory should make some of that in order to transport its own goods. So that's the layout. In terms of aesthetics, I'm really liking the idea of lots of conveyor belts on this one, to take everything between the different stages of the line, and then I might use some of these, what are they called, weighted ejectors, that will shoot items or players out of them, and we might use that to like toss things into big bins when they're finished being produced. So in terms of aesthetics, we're going to use a bunch of bricks and a bunch of industrial iron, and this is kind of the outside of the factory that we're planning on using here. So a lot of these are base create, but also quite a bit create deco, which is very useful to get what we're doing here. And then the roof, I really like this chimney design with the cast iron and the chutes on top. And then we're also going to do some copper and mixed deep slate for the roof, just to give it a bit of a variation going on there. And of course the copper shingles will begin to oxidize as we keep moving through the world, which I think will be a really cool way to do it. So that's the plan. Let's go ahead and get started on resource collection, building a beacon, and getting ready to dig this place out. And the first thing I did here actually was finally get an ender chest crafted so that we can get all our bits back from the end city, and it's going to give us a really good head start on getting to a good quantity of resources. And it was around this point I thought, sod this, and left. Because villager trading is annoying. And instead I decided I'd go ahead and make an enchanting table, get some gear that way, and go off mining for a beacon base. Cool. So with that, we've got, and that was a much longer mining trip than the part you saw, but we do now have all of our blocks of beacon base ready to go. So that's super exciting for me. And then I went ahead and killed some skeletons in the nether to grab the pieces for our beacon itself. So you can see that I did actually get a second skull, but I wasn't recording for that portion. And then my last skull there took quite a long time to get the 3. I can't remember exactly what the rates were, but more than they probably should have been. So in the darkness here, dug down, built a little hole for the wither, and yeah, pretty quickly took care of business. And just like that, we have ourselves a nether star. Hooray! So I went back up, crafted up my beacon, and got ready to dig things out, only to realise, actually, I don't know how big I want to make this. So I hopped over to a creative world, started building some of the machines I'm going to need to get an idea of scale. So this is a very basic cobblestone generator that I've made here. There are definitely better ways to make this, but this is the way I decided to do it. So you have your water flowing in from one side, your lava on the other one. So this is just a normal, if you've ever played Skyblock, this is how these work. But obviously the Create edition here is the addition of these drills to break the cobblestone for me, instead of having to mine it myself. So this is running at 32 RPM off of a creative motor here, but obviously in the actual thing it'll run off a steam engine probably. And we've got these 2 rows of drills producing a fair chunk of cobblestone. So I'm not going to be wanting for it, I would not imagine. I think it would be really cool to put a little compartment in the middle of those kind of rails, because it looks like something you could sit on and operate. So let's go ahead and build something to that effect. No, that looks silly. There we go, that's a bit better. It's still not quite what I want, but it's definitely getting closer. We'll see what happens later. Cool. Okay, so the next one I went ahead and built was this hopper, and I've obviously updated my cobblestone, but we'll look at that in a minute. So the hopper, again, running at 32 RPM, and I think that will be my base speed of everything. And the idea here is just catch everything from the crushing wheels and make it look a bit more impressive. So I've got this fun little kind of 3-arm connected in the bottom there, and that's just from a bunch of chutes that pick up things from the crushing wheels and then drop them down onto a conveyor belt. So I think I might go ahead and put some housing around those crushing wheels at some point, just to make it look a little bit more kind of whole. But other than that, that's where that one is at the moment. In terms of cobblestone generator, I've definitely made a few changes. So I've been a little bit ambitious about our resources and tried doing some train casing on the bottom there, because the argument is it's going to come down. I've actually managed to make it raise and lower onto the lava surface, and so train casing, obviously made of obsidian, feels thematically like it would survive lava. I've gone ahead and put a bunch of decals all over the place, and let's show you how it works. So you can climb up this ladder on the side to kind of start the workday. You hop in here, jump on the seat, and that lever above us needs to be off, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, I managed to do something silly here, turning it off and on and jumping out of the seat. Then all you need to do is push that button, and once you've pushed that button, you drop down onto the cobblestone, and that actually engages the drive. So part of this kind of carriage that comes down on the gantry is the gearboxes and chain drives that connect these to the motor itself, and so that starts the cobblestone going. And then this ladder here is like a brake ladder, or maybe like an emergency escape ladder. And to turn it off, all you do, you flick that lever again and you go straight back up. And ta-da! That's how it works. So I was quite pleased with this. This took me quite a while to actually figure out how to make it work. But it's pretty reliable now. So that's very cool. Just using a gantry carriage. So yeah, I think that's neat. And that's what we will be using later. So the next problem I have to try and solve here is conveyor belts. So those two there obviously are running at the same speed, but the one closer to the hopper is has a shorter distance to travel. So I need to think of a way to make sure that both of those cobblestone inputs are getting equal priority. And I'm not quite sure how to do that yet. Maybe something with chutes and a fan, but yeah, we'll see. Okay, I figured it out, and it was actually pretty easy. And this is back to live me now rather than recording me. So I just went ahead and used what I said I was going to use with these weighted ejectors. So I've set the stack size up to 64 before they eject. And now, because they're both rotating on the same rotational input, they're going to be limited by one another. So the out of syncness shouldn't be too much. But yeah, so they just fire that away into the crushing wheels, which crush it down and out with the gravel. I've also gone ahead and built some washer design. So I'm going off the kind of classic industrial washer look. So if you Google, there'll be some photos around. It's definitely not the most efficient way to do this, but I really like the way it looks. And so again, we've got these running at 32, and we just take things down a little bit of a gradient, and we filter here to make sure we're only getting the flint and the iron nuggets that we want, rather than the gravel. Lastly, we need to go ahead and compact these up, the iron nuggets, and I've built this little structure. I'm not totally sold on it yet. I think it needs something else going on, and I definitely don't like those little kind of train hulls around the sides there. So I'll keep thinking about it. There's definitely more to do here, but I think this is a good start in terms of thinking about what we're going to need size-wise for our factory. So I'm thinking what we'll do is we'll put this one and this one pretty close together because of those weighted ejectors we're going to need to. And then we'll run this kind of around into the washer and then into the compactor so that our floor imprint is not quite so large. And then we'll have our ore processors and things can come up adjacent to here. So let's go ahead and hop into the survival world and get that started building. So that is that all dug out. This is probably the minimum space for our factory for sure, but it's a good start. So let's go ahead and start preparing for our cobblestone generator, which is going to be right in this corner here. So we're going to need a few things, and the big thing we're going to need is drills, and they are crafted with some andesite alloy, iron ingot, and some andesite casing. So we're going to have to spend iron to make iron here is the deal. Luckily we've got a bunch of zinc, and that can be used to make our andesite alloy. So we're going to go ahead, cook some more of that up, make some andesite alloy and some andesite casings, and then we should have a bunch of drills ready to put down. Alrighty, so I got about halfway through building that and then remembered that in order to make train casing I'm going to need crushing wheels. So I'm going to start getting those going now, and I've crafted way too many of these mechanical crafters, but that's alright. So we're going to just see if we can power this up straight away. So from memory I need some cog wheels to go into that. So if I go ahead and route the power out of this into here, yep, overstressed. Okay, so we might need to shut off some things. Oh, wonderful. Those two removed, we can go ahead and use our mechanical crafting here. Now, crushing wheels require quite a bit of andesite alloy, some oak and some stone, but nothing more than that. That looks promising. Let's see if it works. No, okay, so I need to make sure these feed into one another at the bottom here. Stone in the middle, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's try that. That looks good. Nice. We have ourselves some crushing wheels. That's very cool and exciting. Again, we're just going to set these up very temporarily in here. And yes, predictably, that's going to overstress our contraption, but that's fine. We actually don't need any of this anymore. And we have ourselves some wheels that are destructing, apparently. Let's see what happens if we crush something like an ore. Let's see what happens if I crush some copper ore. Some zinc ore. We can do zinc ore. That looks like it's crushing. Hey! And we got some crushed raw zinc. A nugget of experience. Which I'll redeem, sure. And some cobblestone. Nice. Okay, so our crushing wheels are operational. Let's go find some obsidian to crush up to make our train casing. And actually, just because I'm lazy, I'm going to go grab it from the corners of our nether portal in here. The nice thing about crushing obsidian is you get, on average, I think it's 4 powder from each obsidian block. So this should actually be giving us probably just about enough in total to get where we need to go. And in short order, hopefully, we should see some powdered obsidian coming through. I hear a zombie. Does the zombie want to fall on the crushing wheels? Because that'd be kind of funny. I guess not. Awesome. So we've kept 3 of our original 4. And we've got 4 obsidian dust from that. So we're just going to go ahead and repeat the cycle until we use up all of that obsidian. And hopefully that will be enough for us to get some train casing started. This is definitely not health and safety approved to stand on the crushing wheels. That's right, the factory is not built yet, so we can't have health and safety, because it doesn't exist. Alright, there we go, that was the last one. So 16 powdered obsidian. Now, in order to turn that into train casing, we need to make it into sturdy sheets, and in order to make sturdy sheets, we need to spout lava and then press twice. So we need a spout. We also need some lava, but that's a problem we can figure out later. So a spout's pretty easy. It's copper casing and dried kelp. Let's get that sorted first. Now I'm going to go see what I can do in terms of finding us some lava for that. Because obviously we will want a few pieces of lava there. I wonder if we can get the spout to just draw directly from a fluid tank. Is that possible? It looks like a maybe. Okay, I need to use a pipe and a fluid pump, which should be doable. So we're going to go and pump in from the drain, and let's go ahead and put this into the drain. Cool. If I go ahead and do this, we are pumping the lava in. Go ahead and put some powdered obsidian on there. Awesome. Sploosh. Excellent. Excellent name for an advancement. And now we need to press this twice. It should go ahead. Awesome. Process once. Process twice. Sturdy sheet, which we can then use if we make some brass casing to make Train casing. Cool. Alrighty, so I believe now that minus the decals and some lava and some conveyor belts down there, this is all set up. So I went ahead and glued it together. But what we need is to run some power into that. And I was thinking, I mean, eventually I'll definitely be doing steam power for most of the city, but I feel like I like the idea of using this waterway as our power source here. So obviously we're powering things with the water wheels here, but I think let's run it underneath, do a big water wheel bank kind of on the floor below, and use that to power this at least, and then probably also the other machines here. Okay, so it is now all assembled and I've got it to work and move. The plumbing of the cogwheels was a little bit difficult, but you can see if I go ahead, unpower that lever, fire that off, we do in fact descend. And once we've got down to the bottom, and it's a little bit slow, I've left it on quite slow on purpose to reduce the stress impacts, and we get digging. So that's running at 32 RPM off of here. I'm just monitoring the stress. It's not great, so we probably can't run that many machines off the water wheels here. We'll need more, but that can happen. Yeah, so that's where we're at the moment, but now we need a bunch more lava for those. Now I could just go in and out of the nether and grab a bucket at a time, but I need 16 buckets and that feels boring. So instead, what I think would be cool to do is actually load up our terrible, awful boat, quote unquote, from last episode, with a fluid tank, a hand crank, an item train, and a pump, and actually go over to a lava pool on the surface, which is just down the river from here. So let's go ahead and make that alteration to our craft real quick, and then get going. Cool, and you'll notice, so now we've got that all set up, you'll notice that this looks a bit different to last time, and that is partly because I moved it around a little bit with moving it with a handle just to get it into place, and gave it a bit more depth, so hopefully it won't sink quite as much anymore. So let's go ahead and power this guy up, and we are moving very handsomely, and going nowhere. Okay, that's interesting. Or did I disassemble it? I think I might have disassembled it. I think that might be why it's still like upright in the water at the moment. I have not assembled this. Okay, yeah, that's very heavy. We can try. We can try and use that. I have my suspicions about it working. Well, you know, if it submerses, that's okay. Okay, well that's less helpful. I'm going to be honest with you. That's less helpful. This is very silly. What if I pull it from the bottom down? No, okay, that was close though. Let's try that one more time. Oh, come on. Surely we can make it work like that. Yes? No, maybe it's just too back heavy. What if I chuck some things at the front to weigh it down, and chuck some things on this side to weigh it down? Okay. That looks like it might have done it. Or done it at least enough for us to try going places in it. Let's see. We got 2 minutes of burn time, so I don't know whether we're going to manage that or not. We are also very much up in the air currently. Let's turn both of these on. What's going on here? Okay, we rotated. That's fine. Let's just go backwards. Oh, right. It's definitely a submersible now. That's very much so a submersible. Goodness me. Okay, right. Well, I think I'm going to have to settle for the boring solution of ferrying lava in and out of the nether, because that's not going to work anytime soon. Is that creeper going to saw itself to death? It just about did, you know. Okay, so as predicted, that was boring, and so I probably haven't shown any of the lava filling. Editing me if I'm wrong. I don't know, put a stupid hat on the screen or something. Anyway, It is now, I believe, fully operational. So if I go ahead and kickstart the machine, down we go. Well, this is exciting. It's like I'm about to do... Oi! And it is indeed block breaking. So let's go down here and have a look. Awesome, and we have cobblestone coming out both ends at a pretty quick rate of knots, I have to say. So the next thing we need to do is get started on our next stage of the production line, which of course is the crushing wheel hopper, and I'm planning to put that sort of about here. So I'll go ahead, I'll move our crushing wheels over and I'll get that put in, and then I'll show you guys how it's working once that's done. Okie dokie, so I went ahead, I chucked together the big old crusher and I put in our waste ejectors, and so currently this isn't doing anything because it hasn't got enough cobblestone on the stack, but I think there's maybe like 26 in there, yeah, there we go. And it fires it away into the chute, gets crushed by the wheels, and then any minute now, there we go, it drops down and gives us our gravel back. So there we go. That's the first two parts. The last thing we've got to do here is build our washer, and then we can start compacting things up. I want to talk about plans for the rest of the space here. So I'm thinking this corner over here is a really good place to put some kind of stock tanks that just go straight up to the roof, and similarly we can run an offshoot conveyor belt from here into a storage tank as well for when we want gravel or cobblestone. Other than that, obviously we'll do an interior at some point. It won't be left looking like this with all the walls made out of stone and whatever other nonsense forever. But first I want to make sure we get our industry going. So I'm going to go do that. You may notice we're missing a drill because we had an unfortunate creeper drop in. And I have run out of food, so I really got to fix that at some point. At the moment I'm just hunger resetting every time I need to, which is probably not ideal, but that's fine. You know, sometimes that's how it happens. Okie dokie, so that is our washer all built up and running, and it even just works the right way first time. So I still have to do the item filters here to make sure we're only getting our iron and flint out of that. But what I'm thinking, so currently it's going to all go through these smart chutes and come out over here. And what I'm thinking is I build a big like storage silo here and then let that feed into our compactors this way. So let's go ahead and do that and then put the whole thing together and actually make some iron after way too long building this. Remind me never to do a washer that looks really nice again, because this thing took 30 encased fans, which is like 120 iron. This beacon is so sad right now. I've taken so much iron from it, but it is now all set up and ready to go. So I will go ahead and make these filters, get that ready and set, make our storage thing, make our compactors, and then we're all set. Okay, see you in a minute. Okie dokie, it is done. So I haven't built the andesite line yet, but I've built the iron production here. So we're going to go ahead and test it. This thing will definitely overstress if I try and bring that down at the moment, because there's just way too much going on over here. And actually I think we can look if we're using our stressometer here. Yeah, I mean we've got nowhere near enough to run this. But we can do a proof of concept because we have some gravel lying around in one of these chests. Well, we've got some cobblestone. Let's throw some cobblestone in. So, cobblestone goes on the ejector, which fires it away, goes and gets crushed. Then we will go ahead and watch this go through. There we go, there's our gravel. So that goes ahead and into there. Oh, and it works exactly how I wanted it to. I didn't think it was going to do that. That's awesome. So it splits those up really nicely through those funnels. Oh, I've forgotten one thing. That's okay, we'll just stand here. I wanted to put a brass tunnel there. But now it's washing, and it washes. And look, we have iron and flint coming through. That's so cool. Okay, so we're going to be manually sorting here, but obviously eventually I would redirect the flint that way, just solely for andesite processing, and the iron nuggets this way to get compacted up. There we go. And that is our first iron ingot out of this ginormous contraption that we've made. which is really, really exciting. That looks like everything that's come through there. And we have 1 iron ingot out of all of that. Which, you know, doesn't seem like a lot, but over time, that is going to pay itself off with interest. I'm really pleased about that. So I think that's where we will leave it for the episode. Obviously, we've got our big production line more or less set up here, but it doesn't look very pretty. So next time we will be finishing up some of the itty-bitty bits, making sure it all flows nicely together, building in some storage, and making this thing look a whole lot nicer. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.